who then destroyed Ur. Into this Mesopotamian vacuum of power came ever more Amorite tribes, now with royal ambitions. These nomadic semi-pastoralists, whose name literally means people of the west, supposedly originated in the highlands region west of the Middle Euphrates. These Amorites were the very same people whom the Israelites supposedly defeated in the biblical texts. The Amorite invasions of the Near East took place in several phases. During the first, they invaded and dominated Palestine. In the second, they thrust north and invaded the Syrian region, including Ebla, Mari, Yamhad, Katna, and Ekalatam. Finally, they invaded northern and southern Mesopotamia, taking root and establishing dynasties in Isin, Larsa, and Babylon. Upon encountering the sophisticated and seemingly splendorous civilization which had developed in the Euphrates-Tigris region, they must have wanted to become a part of it and never left, melding so well into the local populations that after a few decades they were indistinguishable from the natives. Near the end of the 19th century BC, a ruler of Amorite Simalite descent named Yagid Lim conquered many cities in the region of Mari on the Middle Euphrates. Carrying on the momentum, he took the old city itself as his capital in 1830 BC and established the Third Mariate Kingdom under the so-called Lim dynasty. His son, Yadun Lim, inherited the throne and would begin Mari's most prosperous century. The dynamism of this new Amorite dynasty established Mari as the dominant state on the Middle Euphrates. Despite the brief period of prosperity which his strangely administered empire enjoyed, it was not to last. The Turukku nomads from the Zagros Mountains penetrated deep into northern Mesopotamia, and many regions in the empire rebelled.
To gain a deeper insight into the linguistic history of the ancient Middle East, one must consider events that took place during the beginning of the Bronze Age, when the Middle East, Levant, and Mediterranean were dominated by the Amorites, who would go on to establish Babylon, which was raised from a small town to an independent and influential city-state. Almost all of the local kings in Babylonia, such as Hammurabi, belonged to this Amorite stock. In the Bible, they are described as a powerful people of great strength and stature, quote, like the height of the cedars, which led some Christian scholars to refer to the Amorites as giants. In Deuteronomy, the Amorite king, Og, was described as the last of the remnant of the Rephaim, an ancient race of giants. And the earliest Sumerian sources concerning the Amorites, beginning around 2400 BC, the land of the Amorites was located with the lands to the west of the Euphrates, including Canaan or Phoenicia, and what was to become Syria by the 3rd century BC, where Ugarit was located. Discovered by accident in 1928, Ugarit was an ancient port city in northern Syria, laying in a large artificial mound in the Mediterranean coast, which flourished from around 4,000 years ago until its destruction in 1185 BC, probably at the hands of the Sea People, the only existing remnant of the Amorite language. The most famous of the Ugarit texts are approximately 50 epic poems, as well as 150 tablets describing the Ugaritic cult and its magic rituals. The three major literary texts are the Legend of Kerit, the Tale of Agat, and the Baal cycle, also known as the Epic of Baal, which is about the Canaanite god Baal, which means lord or owner, and refers to an ancient storm god associated with sex, rain, and fertility. The text identifies Baal as the god Hadad, introduced to Mesopotamia by the Amorites, where he became known as the Akkadian or Assyrian-Babylonian god Adad. He appeared bearded, often holding a club or thunderbolt, while wearing a bull-horned headdress, as the sun was in Taurus in the Old Babylonian period around the 2nd millennium BC. Hadad was equated with the Hittite storm god Teshub, the Greek god Zeus, and the Roman god Jupiter. In ancient Egypt, he was Amun, which was combined with Ra, the sun, to make Amun-Ra, depicted as a ram during the age of Aries, as any god associated with Jupiter's 12-year orbit along the ecliptic all stem from the ancient Atlantean solar religion of the Pleistocene, which kept track of the 25,920-year precession of the equinox. Unique among the Ugarit texts are the earliest known lists of letters in alphabetic cuneiform, the traditional names for the letters of the Phoenician alphabet. Other tablets found in the same location were written in other cuneiform languages, Sumerian, Hurrian, and Akkadian, as well as the Egyptian and Luwian hieroglyphs, and Crypto-Minoan, which is the pre-Greek language of ancient Crete. The Amorites are also mentioned in the Bible as inhabitants of Canaan both before and after the conquest of the land under Joshua, meaning the time of Moses and the Exodus, and the term Amuru in Akkadian and Sumerian texts refer to the Amorites, their principal deity, and the Amorite kingdom, known as the land of Amuru. As in antiquity, the Old World was divided into 3 segments, symbolically represented by the 3 sons of Noah, all stemming from the Caucasus region, which is where we get the term Caucasian from. Scientists have discovered that waves of migration from Anatolia and the Zagros Mountains to the Levant helped develop the Chalcolithic culture that existed in Israel's Upper Galilee region some 6,500 years ago. Certain genetic characteristics, such as blue eye color, were not seen in the DNA test results of earlier Levantine human remains. The Amorites were regarded as nomadic pastoralists, meaning they moved around to let their herds graze, consisting of various domesticated animals, such as horses and cattle. After several millennia, this Middle Eastern or Eurasian demographic that domesticated cattle and drank its milk adapted the ability to drink milk as an adult. Aryan tribes that introduced domesticated horses and cattle into Europe, as well as blue eyes, which during the Holocene can be traced to one Eurasian tribe originating around the Caucasus Mountains, where we get the term Caucasian from. In prior videos, I've already discussed how Icelandic sagas, as put forth by Snorri Sturluson, backed by archaeological research performed by Thor Heyerdahl, placed the origins of the Odin story in Eurasia, claiming that the origin of the Norse royal dynasties and pre-Christian Norse gods entered Europe from the Caucasus, emigrating from the Black Sea region through the area or city called Azov around the River Don into Scandinavia. The ancient Amorite god associated with pastoralism was known in Sumerian as Martu, but the name used by the Amorites was Amuru, developing into a major deity in Babylon. An association between Amuru and the steppes is well attested, as he was also referred to as Lord of the Steppes, but also Lord of the Mountains. Amuru's main attribute was the gamlu, a type of crooked staff used by shepherds, depicted on ancient cylinder seals, as well as depictions of pharaohs and other gods and deities, including Jesus. Amuru's father was the sky god Anu,